Exploring our world, we come home with a better perspective. We understand our place in the grand scheme of things. Imagine exploring our world from 250 miles up. Imagine going around this planet 2,000 times, 92 minutes per orbit, and having a camera in your hand and capturing everything through a big, curved window. Moonrises, sunsets, cloud patterns, entire continents stretching out before you. That's what Commander Chris Hadfield's done for several months in the International Space Station, and he's written a book to share what he brought home from his photographic safari. We're going to talk now with Chris Hadfield about his book, You Are Here, Around the World in 92 Minutes. Commander Hadfield, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Rick. Thanks.
What an amazing experience to be a photo buff, being up in the International Space Station and going around the world every 92 minutes. Now, you wrote in the book how you started shooting everything in sight, and then you decided, I'm going to get more focused, and you became almost like a stalker or somebody who was a hunter. What were you stalking? What was the big shot when you were coming around the world another time?
Well, I learned what to look for. At first, you just photograph everything, but after a while, you develop sort of a relationship or an intimacy with what you're looking at. And you learn to look back where the sun's going to glint, or to look ahead to the Terminator, the edge between the first light of the sun is just starting to cut through the atmosphere and then touch the surface of the world. And it's magnificent. And it makes me laugh and smile every time what the world shows me.
Paging through your beautiful book, You Are Here, Around the World in 92 Minutes, I was struck just by the flat-out beauty of the images. But I was also struck by the thought that you had kind of an agenda. Your photographs were expressing a point of view. What do you want people to get as a takeaway from this book?
It was hard to choose which, out of so many pictures that I took, what would you put in a book and why? I had to give myself some guidelines. One was I wanted to show the whole world, so I didn't want to have just 200 pictures of the Bahamas and the outback, which are both beautiful. But also, I thought, if I were lucky enough, whoever is holding this book in their hands, if they were beside me in this huge bulging window of the space station, which we call the cupola, if the two of us were floating weightless, heads down in the cupola, looking at the world, what would I want to show them in the 92 minutes it's going to take? If you and I were there and I grabbed you by the arm and said, okay, let's take an hour and a half. I want to show you the world. And then what would I shake your arm and go, oh, wait till you see this. Look right here. Look what's coming. Look, and then tell you what I know about that. But I didn't want to tell people what to think. I wanted to make sure that they noticed what was there and then could draw their own conclusions. I didn't want them to miss that was there. So I didn't just It's not just a coffee table book of pretty pictures.
You never tired of looking out the window, and you said, no astronaut ever has or will. That's a pretty strong statement.
I mean, it's Niagara Falls, and it's a glorious sunset, and it is a shooting star. It's just a... And none of your other senses tell you that you're there. You don't smell or taste or touch or hear the earth. It's all visual. And when you're in this big window where on the space station, the cupola, looking at the world, there's actually a hush in there. When there are two astronauts in there, and hardly ever it's two because people are busy, we normally sort of whisper to each other just because it's that sense of privilege and almost a reverence, a responsibility of being there, and your eyes are seeing this on behalf of so many other eyes. Yeah. So you have that feeling all the time as well.
Did you ever find yourself seeing the Earth as recognizing it as kind of an organism in a way you might not if you were back down on the terra firma?
Absolutely. And I think what really turned my mind one day was I was coming across Canada, and I saw the town of Winnipeg, which I know fairly well, and it's a standard-looking prairie town, really a standard town anywhere. It's got the downtown, it's got a river flowing through it, and it's got the highway, and it's got the railways, and it's got the suburbs, and the airport, and the surrounding farms. And I know Winnipeg, and I've been there. And then 20 minutes later, I was over Africa. And I went over a town, and it had the downtown and the railway and the river and the surrounding and everything. And it was exactly the same. And I don't even know that town, but it sort of instantly, very visually connected for me the experience of being human. This is just us. This is how we live. We repeat the same patterns. And because I know what Winnipeg is like, it gave me a connectedness with the people of that city that I don't even know the name of, just by the very similarity of how we exist over the whole planet. And
Chris, when you think of all the experience you had circling this planet 2,600 times, what did it do to your perspective?
we get so wrapped up in our own particular 75 or 80 years on the earth, and we desperately want those 80 years to be the most important in the whole history of the whole planet. That fades away. You see the 4.5 billion year nature of the world. You get a more humble sense of who you are. I think it makes you a better citizen and steward of the world. I would love to be able to take not just politicians, but every single person in the world, come to the window for 100 orbits and then come back to Earth and think about where you truly are.